So, Kelly got it all set up. Okay. You guys are ready?
Yeah.
Awesome, let's do this. Go ahead.
So having a free tuition for college and universities would highly benefit students in many ways. It would be easier for students to attend schools who may not be able to afford it, or their parents may not be able to afford it. It would also be stress relieving for after college when you're looking to start your career. You may not want to have to worry about paying off thousands of dollars in loans. Students may also focus more on learning instead of working after college to pay off their debts. They won't have to stress about coming up with tuition in the first place or paying it off after college while they were looking to start their careers. Who would want to go into their adult lives with thousands of dollars in debt?
Well, we aren't so sure that school should be free. Part of that is because what is actually free? If it's free for us, that just means someone else is paying for it, which probably means it's going into everyone's taxes, which means everyone's paying for it, which I don't think they would really enjoy. I also find when you have to work for something and pay for it, it often means more. You take it more seriously, and you might actually get more out of it because of that. And the other thing is, if tuition is free for everyone, we'll have everyone with degrees and diplomas, but then they'll start to be worthless, right? If everyone has one, how good is it? Then we need to come up with some other method of showing who's more deserving or who's more knowledgeable.
Back to you guys.
So when we look at the income that everyone brings in, Canada's is quite high, right next to America's. So why is it that with all the income we have, people are struggling to make payments for post-secondary, they're struggling to make medical payments, they're struggling to make a whole bunch of payments. So why should we put so much burden on the future when we're trying to educate them than what really should be done?
It also might lead to more students attending college. There may be people who can't afford tuition or who have bad credit and won't get approved for loans. So this would offer education for anyone who really, really wants to go to college but can't afford to. To choose between free college and paying for college should be a no-brainer. There shouldn't be a price on education and knowledge, and education should be open and available for all that choose to pursue it.
You guys are done with your 4 points? Yeah. Great, thank you.
So, in order to provide free education for every student, the government budget would increase, and the tuition has to be covered out of tax money, meaning more taxes for taxpayers. And the government already pays huge percentage of education funding, include both secondary and post-secondary institutions. And there are alternatives such as scholarships and financial aid. So, and giving every single student free tuition for entire school years sounds great, but it's not realistic in terms of financial matters.
All right, well, and like we talked about earlier, it often means more if you have to pay for it. You might take it more seriously. If people are just paying for you to go, then do you just go because everyone goes? Or do you go because you're passionate about a topic and you want to learn more and you want to build on a future career? As she said, nothing is actually free. And what about, okay, so you're saying a lot of people need degrees. There's also a lot of jobs that don't need degrees and diplomas that people aren't doing because they feel they need to go to school and then get into a certain job. So we might not see the same difference if more people would do the jobs that are quote unquote less skilled or less based on academics, because there is a lot of money to be found there as well and a lot of opportunities there.
All right, into the open debate. Whenever somebody's sign goes up.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So now about 60% of Canadian students undertake an average debt of $27,000 to pay for their post-secondary education. This has forced many to abandon further education. So basically, when you're finished school, you may not find work right away. It could take you like months or even years to find work, and that could affect paying off your loans.
Okay, I have a question then. Is it taking longer to find jobs because graduates are more picky about the type of work that they'll take? Or is it taking longer because there aren't jobs?
Time to go.
Okay, so you bring up quite a few valid points, but you also gotta remember, if people are not wanting to go into unskilled jobs, they are not willing to go into unskilled jobs. There's people right now who come from very well-off families, they go into construction. It's a very important industry. You don't need a university or a college diploma. So some of these jobs will be filled. Some people don't particularly like the atmosphere of a post-secondary institute, but they should have the opportunity to have the choice and not be burdened by debt or by other things. And when we look at Scandinavian countries, they've been doing it for years. Why are we so different from them?
I would argue then, again, the idea that if you really want something, you will work for it. Even in this class alone, there's lots of people, if a certain game's out, they're gonna make sure they have money to buy that game, no matter what, right? So if the education is really that important to you, you'll make lifestyle changes to enable you to afford it. And like Renee said, there's lots of scholarships and bursaries available. Some companies will even help you pay for your schooling if you commit to working for them. For example, even if you work at Home Depot for like 10 hours a week, they'll pay half your tuition.
Wow.
Right? So there are options out there to cut costs without burdening all of the taxpayers and making everyone who's not choosing to go to post-secondary angry about that.
Would you like to respond? Okay. You always bring up the money issue, and that's a very valid point. When people look at public services, public funding, they kind of get scared. Fair enough. But with adequate and proper tax system, we can actually afford it. If you've noticed, Scandinavian countries, I know I'm using them because they have the perfect model. Flat out. They are able to afford it. They're not stretching their budget. They've been increasing their budgets. It's not only education that affects, it also affects healthcare. So all these budgets that are focused around funding are adequately funded. If you make lots of money, I'm sorry, you shouldn't be paying less taxes than someone who works at Home Depot. It doesn't really make sense. Your rebuttal, please.
I would say that your ideas of copying Scandinavia's models are very good, but perhaps maybe too utopian for Canada at this time and North America. It's an ideal situation, but to get there, the increases in taxation that would have to happen would probably cause riots.
Great end to the open debate. Sorry, can't get your comment in there. Time is up. Thanks, Terry, for keeping us on track. Closing statement, going back to the group who started. And then
Okay, so last year Germany eliminated tuition because they believed that charging students was discouraging Germans from not going to college. There shouldn't be a price on education. Students have to stress enough with homework and other things. And it also may lead to more students attending the college who can't afford to.
Okay. So, if you give every student free education, tax will increase. So basically, it's not free. Providing education costs. That's true. And there are alternative options such as scholarships and support from companies and everything. So, yeah, that's it.
Thanks, guys, for a good debate.